everybody, and welcome back to Mr. Grimm's Place. Today we're going to talk about coveralls and weathering them again, except this is part 2, a year later. Yeah, it's been a while since we've talked about coveralls, but we're going to talk about bullet holes, how to make them, and how to make the blood look real. Now, this is something that I've seen a lot of people have issues with, especially on Myers costumes. I don't know why people have such a hard time figuring out how to make bullet holes, but we're going to cover that today. I already did all of these, so I can't really show you how I did it. I'm sorry. But anyway, I was in a mad rush to get this finished because 2 days ago it was Halloween, and I actually went out and wore my H2 costume and literally blew people's minds out of their heads, which is why he doesn't have his black eye mesh in right now, because I was just wearing it not that long ago. So, you guys remember last time in the last video I did on coveralls, the big thing was weathering. We started out by, these are Dickies. I purchased Dickies because they fit me the best. They don't ride up in the crotch. They're wide enough for my shoulders, and it fits good around the waist. I've tried Big Macs. I've tried Reds. They don't even make Reds anymore, I don't think. Maybe they do. I can't remember. But Dickies fit me best. So I purchased Dickies. I customized them so they look like they do in H2. So there's a lot of things we covered in that video, so you have to watch that one. There's a bit of an audio issue in that video. I do apologize. This one will be better, though. Obviously, it's already better. Except I'm nasally because I'm getting over a cold. But today we're talking about bullet holes. Now, with bullet holes, they can look like a lot of things. They can either look like a circle, or they can look like a torn up mess. It just kind of depends on the caliber and gun and how it's hitting. All these things matter, believe it or not. Now, I'm going to go over what I think bullet holes should look like, and then I'm going to talk about what I did. So, bullet holes tear clothing. It's torn clothing. It doesn't make perfect little circles. Sometimes it singes it, sometimes it just rips it apart. So, me personally, I think that bullet holes shred clothing normally, which they do. But I went for something more practical that I could wear that wouldn't snag on anything while I was out cosplaying and stuff. These won't tear very easily because I basically made them more circular, and then I singed it with a lighter or a torch, whatever you got, so that they do not rip at any point in time. Now, I also did blowouts, a couple blowouts in the back. The back especially would be a lot bigger and more ripped, but we'll get into that and why I didn't do that in just a minute. But I want to talk about how I did this. So let's zoom in here, and we'll talk about these two, I guess. This one's relatively small, as you can see. So what I did is, just a second. I took my Leatherman. Mine has scissors on it. These are really tough scissors. You can cut just about anything. And what I did was, I would either poke a hole with my pocket knife, or I would pinch it up like this and cut a circle. And then from there I would make these other shapes and things to make it look more like a natural bullet hole. And that's kind of how I did all of them, except for the ones in the arms. This one's up in the shoulder. And when I wear it, it's actually up higher on my shoulder than it looks like it is on the table. None of this is here. It's my shoulder starts about there. So I kind of just stabbed this one and made a little more of a unique hole, because depending on where Loomis is shooting, or whoever is shooting, different things are going to happen to clothing when bullets enter in different ways and shapes and things. And it's going to make a different look. Much like this arm. It's a much bigger hole. It's more torn. And yeah, I felt like that was more important to do something like that, as well as make the ones on the chest more round. So that's kind of what I went for, is more like a, what would it be like if somebody shot you for real? And we went from there. So I want to talk about references. Now, as you're looking at this, just take a look at it for a minute. Just soaking in for a second. Because I'm about to pop up a photo of reference I used, which is the... So I used this photo for reference, and these are from the Hero coveralls from Dick Warlock, who actually owns them. He still has them to this day, sitting on a mannequin. Sadly, he never took pictures of the back, but we did get good pictures of the front and the side. And I went from here. I tried to be as accurate as humanly possible. But again, these are not the same coveralls, so I had to change it up a bit. That being said, I would say I did a pretty good job. Now I'm going to get close up on some of these just to kind of show you what I mean by different shapes and things. As you can see, these three kind of have the same shape, kind of an oval. This one's more round. There's also one here on the other shoulder. It's pretty round. I put one here at the bottom of the pocket. It's a different shape, and the arms have even stranger shapes to them. Now I'm going to show you the back. Now I do plan on making these more bloody looking, and on camera under this light these don't look very red. It looks more black. I'm going to go over paint in just a second. But yeah, these look really good worn. When this is on you, it looks really great. So I made these bigger. I might make them even bigger. I haven't decided yet. But because there was no reference from Dick Warlock at the back of the coveralls, I used something different. I grabbed my H2 from NECA, and I took 3 marks. I took the top shoulder, the right, and this one line. I didn't want to have a whole nother hole, but yeah, I referenced off of that just because it's what I had handy and it looks good. And who's going to tell me it's wrong? I mean, really? So with that being said, we're going to talk about the blood and how I got the blood to look like blood and it's not actually blood. And somebody asked me what kind of permanent blood I was using, and I told them I wasn't using permablood. I was using acrylic paint. I'm going to make a very unpopular opinion. I hate permablood. 2 reasons. Reason number 1 is it looks too wet. Reason number 2 is there's no color variation that you can play around with. So you're kind of stuck with this really dark, deep, purpley red, and it dries that color, and there's no way to change it. You can't water it down. You can't just spread it out and make it look lighter. There's a lot of issues with permablood that we're not going to get into in this video, but I'm going to explain to you how you can use acrylic paints and what kind of acrylic paints you can use. Now, this is a really good spot to zoom in on. If you can, hold on. That doesn't help. Okay, so this is going to be kind of crazy to explain, but anyway, the first layer is black. Black and red mixed together on a piece of cardboard. I mixed them together, made a really deep, dark red, black color. And I used the paintbrush, and I dabbled around until it looked like a blood stain. And then that was the base. This looks more black than it does in person on this video, because this camera's not very good. But trust me, it's more red than it is black. You can really tell in person. I did that. And then I took some browns after that dried and did a little bit of brown coat. And I took red. And I did a whole coat of red all over. And then when that dried, I did another coat of red really heavily around the bullet holes. And that gave me a much richer look, like it was still bleeding. And that's exactly what I wanted. I wanted it to look like there was a lot of dry blood, but yet it was still bleeding, and that's what we got. And I'm very happy with it. And because I used all these different things, I was able to get a very specific look. This is really close to what real blood looks like on clothing. So I'm really happy with it and the way it turned out. There's a couple other spots I want to highlight. This pocket one, I kind of went into the waistband, but I didn't completely coat it because it's thicker there and blood's not going to seep through as easily. Just a minor detail. Plus it doesn't seep through on the real coveralls. And we made this come down this whole side here. And I like it. I think it looks good. But of course, everybody has differing opinions, and a lot of people think permablood's the best. But I'm going to go over the acrylic paints and what kind you can use and what you should be looking for. So, let me pick these up since I dropped them. I used these. Derwent Academy. Now, what you want to look for is one that is for fabric or says dries to a waterproof state, which these say that. These kinds will be good for fabric and will last a very long time on fabric. It's kind of permanent. Another good call sign is if it's in a metal tube like these. These are metal. If you see something that looks like this and it's acrylic paint, this will be good for fabrics. Don't worry about it. Do not use bottled acrylic paints, like in the big plastic bottles. That is not for this. That is for canvas and paper. It will not look good on this. It won't work very well. And you'll have all kinds of issues with it staying, and you'll get cracking and things. I wore these for about like 5 hours and moving all over the place, doing all kinds of things, tugging on it, roughing it up, and paint is still good. So that being said, that's how I did it. Again, there's a lot of things I want to change, and we will go over that in another video. But the next video you'll see will be me talking about making them look dirty. I wanted to cover bullet holes before I got into the dirt, because we can add dirt on top of the blood and it will look good. We're not going to use real dirt. We're going to use spray paints. Thank you very much for watching. Hopefully this was really helpful for you. I know a lot of people have been asking me since I wore this and have done photos on Instagram and stuff. People have been asking me, how did you do that? How did you make it look so real? And what did you use to paint it?
And I didn't use permablood, I used acrylic paints. And that is like the key, I think. Because this looks wet still, right? But I get to choose what color I want it. And that was the big thing for me, was choosing color. So, yeah, I mean, that's it. That's bullet holes. Again, I'm sorry that I didn't show you how to do it on video. But I think I explained it pretty well. Once you cut them, take a lighter and singe it. Make sure that there's no little fraily pieces hanging off to get torn and ripped. But anyway, yeah, we're going to talk about dirt next time because we already did the weathering. So be sure to join me next time, and please like, comment, and for the love of God, subscribe.